Your life journey doesn't stand still, and neither should your wealth. Welcome to Wealth on the Move, the podcast. Welcome back. It has been a while since we've done an episode of Wealth on the Move, the podcast. I'm your host, Will Hoffman, founder and president of Hoffman Wealth Management. And it's been a while because we have been at work on a lot of things. You may have seen on our YouTube channel and our other podcast, navigating pre-retirement has been a focal point of ours. So please feel free to check that out. But that's taken some time and taken some capacity away. So we have been a little bit absent with Wealth on the Move, the podcast, but we're back, getting back into a regular cadence here. And I'm excited to be back with a guest, a great friend of mine, somebody that I, every time I get to talk to him, I enjoy, I learn something. I was just a guest on his podcast, the Only Human podcast, where we talk a lot about AI in the wealth management space. I know I've shared it on LinkedIn. You'll be able to find the link in our show notes here. But today, joining us from Dallas, Texas, is Yohance Harrison, founder and CEO of Money Script Wealth Management. Yohance, welcome to Wealth on the Move, the podcast.
Indeed. Thank you, Will. I'm going to help you out just a little bit. It's the Yohance.
Yohance. I'm sorry. Yohance.
It's all good. It's all good. It happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
And it's been actually, I found out, little known secret, I found out that my parents were mispronouncing my name when I was young. By the way, do not ever tell your mother you're mispronouncing.
Yeah. How did that go?
Name. Not well. But it just came from the educational system of my parents versus mine.
Okay.
And once I started to learn phonetic pronunciation, I went to the name book that my mother had where she had picked out my name, and I looked at it. I said, "My name is Yohance." And she looked at me and she said, "I named you Yohance. Your name is Yohance." And I was like, "Okay, well, it's phonetically pronounced Yohance." So yeah, it's been a it's been a journey.
So Yohance.
The Yohance is the phonetic pronunciation. So
okay.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about Money Script Wealth Management, why you founded it, what you're focusing on there before we get deep into some other things.
So Money Script Wealth Management was founded with the idea that I can choose who I want to work with. After being in corporate America for a long time, and at times dealing with these corporate mandates of what I needed to be doing, who the clients that I needed to be acquiring, and where they would come from, I really wanted to just focus on ER physicians. They were the favorite type of client that I had. I luckily got one ER physician early in my career, and a few other physicians, but ER is where I wanted to focus. And so I decided that I just wanted to create something new, something of my own. And so that's where I developed Money Script Wealth Management. So there is a bit of a play on words there with prescription. And around the same time, the concept of money scripts was starting to float through the atmosphere. So it was kind of perfect for me. I was like, oh, this kind of worked out. And at the same time, I was a huge believer and follower of behavioral economics. I've been a fan of Doug Lennox for a long time. And I'd also learned that there was a behavioral financial advisor designation. And so I decided to get that designation as well and focus on the behaviors that I see my clients, that my clients have around the money decisions that they're making, and help them just kind of break out of that and think about their relationship with the money when they were young, and how that relationship influences their financial decisions today. So that's where the idea came from in 2016, and here we are 10 years later.
Awesome. So you mentioned something I want to ask. You love working with ER physicians. What made you gravitate to wanting to work with them so much? What was so inviting to that demographic for you?
So there's a statistic around physicians and burnout. And if you, as far back as they've been doing these queries from the workforce, the emergency room physician has always scored near or at the top for burnout rates.
Okay.
And the most recent study that came out in 2024 stated that 65% of emergency room physicians will experience burnout at some time in their career. And it got me to thinking. I said, well, if I'm a burnt out doctor, am I taking a survey?
Right.
So how many are missing?
Right.
And what I wanted to do is to be able to go to an emergency physician and say, hey, there's a high likelihood that you're going to face some sort of burnout, like greater than 50-50. How do we keep money at the bottom of the list? It can be the job, it can be the people, it can be your coworkers, it can be your boss, it can be the schedule, it can be the family time that you're not getting, it can be the nurses, the scribes. We could put everything on the list, but we're not
Sure.
going to have money on the list. And so that just became my mission of working with ER physicians. Like, yeah, if it's going to happen, it's not going to be because of your financial troubles. And
Well, and I mean, tell me if I'm right here. Money can then become the solution.
exactly, it sure can because it can afford you to take those longer vacations so you can get that rest and relaxation. It can
Yeah.
afford you to not have to work those extra shifts when the hospital says, hey, we need someone to pick up these shifts. You don't need those shifts because you're comfortable financially and you're not in a position where you're trading all of the luxuries of your life for an extra shift. And that's I share that with residents. Like the biggest trap you can fall into is, well, I can buy that, I can do that. All I have to do is work an extra shift. You'll be working extra shifts for the rest of your life.
Right.
So that's the message that I try to bring, and it all started with one ER physician
Okay.
that when I met had close to close to $1 million worth of debt between her home, student loans, and credit cards, and the credit cards were six figures. And
Sure.
she'd gone through a few life changes, a divorce, a child, a job change, a move, and retail therapy became her solution. And the credit card companies just kept giving her more and
Right.
more credit. And so she was in that trap where just to meet her obligations, I got to pick up a shift. I got to pick up a shift. And it wasn't until we sat down and said, oh, no, wait, you make enough money. Let's just stop spending it for a little while. Let's find enough. Like, what is enough? Let's have a little bit more joy with having money in your bank account than spending the money in your bank account. And I had a conversation with a client last night where she said, I feel like if the money's in my checking account, I have to spend it. So I have to hide it for myself. I was like, but you're not hiding it. You're just putting it in a savings account and then moving it right back to your checking account. It's not hidden. I said, at some point, you have to be just as excited about the money being in your account than you being able to spend it. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know when that shift's going to happen for you, but when it does, your life's going to change. So let's just start small. You've got $500 in your checking account. Can you keep $500 in your checking account till Monday? And she was like, oh, that seems like a fair challenge. I was like, yeah, I'm saying that, but the weekend is coming
You're right.
and you're off. How are you going to not spend money this way? Oh, I don't need to spend. I have to move. Okay. I think I can do that. So that became the catalyst for me as I wanted to actually, let me add one other thing to that. And I'll ask this to you, Will.
Okay.
When's the last time you made a life or death decision for yourself or someone else?
Well, I don't think I ever have, to tell you the truth. I mean, you like to think that, I'm a runner, and making the choice to go run and becomes choosing to be healthy, but I haven't had to make a life or death decision, I don't think.
ER doctors doing that every day. They clock in multiple times in the day. They're a different breed. So
Yes.
that's what that and I'll end that with, I don't know anyone in my immediate family whose life hasn't been touched by an emergency physician,
Right.
including myself.
Yeah, without question.
So that's why
So,
they're my
I
favorites.
want to touch on your question there for a second, because you and I are both business owners, and we're making decisions every day for our business. We're both financial advisors, so we're making decisions every day to help our clients. And you and I'm sure, experience decision fatigue at a certain point where the last thing you want to do when you go home and somebody says, "Hey, what should we have for dinner?" And that's the question that pushes you over the edge.
Like
What
your
time are we
favorite. That's my
leaving?
answer every
I
time.
don't
We'll
know,
have
right?
your favorite.
So the decision fatigue that we experience is nothing compared to what these doctors are experiencing every day, because the decision that they make saves a life, ends a life, um, could end a life. So yeah, that's powerful stuff when you think about the decision fatigue that they're going through. So when they sign up for their 401k and the provider says to them, "How do you want this money invested?" That is the last decision that they want to
Last,
make.
yep,
They
yep.
just saved 20 lives in a 12-hour shift. The last thing they want to worry about is what their asset allocation is in their 401.
Asset allocation, or do I want to put it in Roth or pre-tax, or now for the so pretty much any physician that's going to work in a academic setting, so your UTs or your U of A's and any of those university medical systems, they're going to have about 5 retirement plans to choose from, and in words they've probably never even seen before.
Right. Well,
Optional retirement plan, and teacher or state retirement plan, and 457B, and 401A.
isn't it wild when they become clients or whenever you're having the conversation and they look at you like, "How do you know that? How do you how" and I'm like, "You gotta be kidding me. You can cipher off the periodic table and understand how every one of those elements is gonna impact the inside of my body, and you're surprised that I know the difference between a 401A and a 403B."
My favorite is when they say, "Are you sure?" And I look at them like, "I'm not.
No.
I'm not at all. But this is what I
So,
know."
I wanna dig in there a little bit on the money script, the title of your firm, the title of your podcast, um, and I wanna get to the money script that these folks have, but I wanna start with your money script. And what maybe motivated you to become an advisor? What money script did you come from that maybe motivated you to choose this profession or to go down this path of helping doctors?
My money script will began with scarcity. So growing up in North Carolina, my parents had a high school education. My father worked for the city. My mother she was in admissions at UNC Charlotte. And she got into a serious car accident when I was 9 years old. And at the time, she was pregnant with my youngest sister. She was trapped in the car for a long time. They had to get the jaws of life to pry her out. She was unconscious, um, broken bones, head trauma, and she was 9 months pregnant.
Right.
My sister was born successfully via cesarean section, and my mother had a long road to recovery. But with the recovery came seizures. So from the head trauma, we suspect, and and eventually the state took away her driver's license. She was unable to work because she was having seizures at work, and my family fell into poverty.
Okay.
And we're talking, food stamps and trying to get Social Security poverty. Um, and it was at that time. By the time this was going on, I was a teenager by then. By the time this all progressed, and I found myself working a full-time job in the summers. At 15 years old, you weren't really allowed to have a full-time job, but I learned
Right.
that I could just have 3 part-times and I have a full-time job at this part at
Right.
this point. But, literally changing in the car, going from one job to the next. And doing that really just so that I could A, help my parents keep the lights on, and B, just try to have somewhat of a normal life. Fast forward, I did make it into college. However, in the first year of college, I get that call that you go into class and the professor reads out names of people that need to go to the financial aid office, and I was one of those individuals. And I go to the financial aid office and found out that FAFSA had rejected my student aid because my father had quite literally just made up a tax return. Found out that they hadn't filed taxes in many years, but I pressured him, "Hey, I got to fill out this FAFSA so I can get student aid. I need your tax return."
Okay.
And my father, in his infinite wisdom, just made one up. Um, so here I am, basically don't know how to make the decision of emancipating myself and doing my own tax return or filling out FAFSA on my own. And, just life was coming at me really fast. And at the time, I thought I wanted to go into media and communications. I had an internship at a radio station. I spent some time working with Def Jam Music, had a lot of fun with that, traveled all over
I'm
the
sure.
East Coast. And, but even in that, I started to see a different world where money wasn't scarce. But the thing that was scarce was any sort of resolve. Just spending money because there was such an amount
Yeah,
of
right.
excess of it. Um, and I remember speaking to a mentor of mine that I had for many years. I was home at the time and trying to figure out, how am I going to transfer schools? What am I going to do? And he said to me, he said, you'd be really good in sales. And I was like, well, what am I going to sell? And the first thing that came to mind was like, I'm thinking Al Bundy, I'm gonna sell shoes. That was what
Yeah.
salesman meant to me.
Glengarry Glen Ross, right?
Yeah. And he said, and no, and actually that was his response. He said, no, you need to sell something that never goes out of style. He said, shoes, they go in and out of style. Clothes go in and out of style. So you need to sell money. I was like, how do you sell money? And he said, you should get a job at the bank. I was like, huh, you know what? I want to learn about how money works. Let me go get a job at the bank. So I got a job at the bank, became a teller, moved up to a teller trainer. And as a trainer going around to different sites, I had a system of helping the tellers refer money to the financial advisor. And so I taught them this and they were like, oh, you're doing great. And I said, well, I got a t-shirt for all the money that I referred. What did the advisor get? And my manager at the time says, he's been dying to meet you. And that was the day my money script changed because I said to him, I got a t-shirt. What did you get? And he reached into a file drawer and pulled out his pay stub. And it was more money than I made the entire year. And I was like, that was for 2 weeks? He was like, that was for 2 weeks. I said, I'm in the wrong part of the bank. He said, yes, you are.
Yeah.
And he thankfully wrote me a recommendation to join the broker training program at Nations Bank in North Carolina. And I say Nations Bank on purpose because 1 month into studying for my Series 7, Nations Bank merged with Bank of America and
Okay.
we were out of a job.
Oh,
But at that point, I had the bug.
yeah.
And that is when it's like, okay, wait, I can create the future that I want with sales. I can help other people learn how to invest their money. I can learn how to invest my own money. This is a different world from the one that I grew up in. And I wanted it so bad I was willing to go anywhere in the country to do it. However, I was still a young Black man in a predominantly older white male business. I had no college degree, and I didn't know anyone with money.
Okay.
And so no one would take me. Edward Jones said no. Merrill Lynch said no. Everyone said no, except this little company called American Express Financial Advisors. And they said, we have a new program. It's in Boston, it's in Dallas, it's in San Francisco. If you can pass your test, you get the job. And I said, well, y'all don't know. I scored very high on my SAT. Bring me the test. Let's go.
Yeah.
And I'd already started studying for the sevens, already had some concepts of what was going to be there. And so I packed up my stuff and moved from North Carolina to Dallas, Texas, and passed all 3 tests, and off I was.
The rest is rock and roll history.
The rest is rock and roll history. So, but yeah, but so my money scripts were tied to scarcity and tied to the money doesn't grow on trees
Yeah.
and I better have fun with this dollar I have today because tomorrow there might not be any fun and there also might not be any dollars.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I had and it was hard to break those habits. Just because you start making money, it doesn't mean that all of those money scripts just
Right.
disappear.
Well, so I want to flip that money script, pun intended here. Um, you're working with folks that are coming from a different script that, we're talking about doctors. Doctors make a nice living. You mentioned your first client that was using retail therapy as a method of burnout protection. How do you notice as a behavioral financial advisor, how do you notice that their script much different than your original money script is, I don't know, plaguing them, the lack of financial literacy? What is it like working with folks who are coming from a completely the complete antithesis of what your original money script was.
So for a lot of doctors, the part of what they bring sometimes into their career is this delayed gratification that I don't think any other profession can really quite grasp.
Okay.
So they go from high school, and let's assume they come from an average economic background. So they go to high school and they go into undergrad. And if they're an average background, they're probably going to borrow some money for undergrad. And these are someone that wants to be a doctor, so they know they have to be the best of the best. So sometimes they want to go to the best school. Um, so they wind up borrowing, let's call $120,000 for undergrad. And then they want to get into medical school, and they want to go to the best medical school. Some of the best medical schools, they're going to pay anywhere from $75,000 to $100,000 a year for that medical school, and there may not be on-campus housing, so they also have to borrow money so they have a place to live. And now they have to be the best of the best there, and they spend another 4 years in medical school. So now you spend 8 years in school. Well, you're not done. Now you have to go into a residency program. And depending on your specialty, that residency can be another 3 or 4 years, or you could do a fellowship and extend it even longer. So in all, they've gone from 18 years old, where someone else was making all their other financial decisions, to just borrow, no earning. And then they make it to residency and they say, guess what? Your name is doctor, but we're going to pay you 1/4 or one, excuse me, not even 1/6 of what the average doctor makes, but you have all the pressures of being a doctor.
Right.
And by the way, you also owe the federal government or some other entity $500,000. And you have to go do this in sometimes a New York or a Los
Boston
Angeles
or
or
LA or
Chicago or
something, right?
somewhere where there's a high cost of living, but you're only going to get paid $70,000, $80,000 a year. And you have all the stress of being a doctor, and it's going to be another 4 years before you make any real money. So what I find sometimes is that they have spent so much time ignoring their debt, it becomes easy to also ignore credit card debt.
Okay.
Because like, oh, that's the student loan, I'll deal with that later. That same attitude then applies to a credit card. The
Okay.
same attitude then applies to a they're oh my goodness, it's so I
Car
hate to
notes
see
or
it, but
something. Yeah.
not even car notes, no, just the buy now, pay later programs.
Furniture and yeah.
No, not even for you can buy now, pay later, Chipotle. It's like, but they're so used to
Yeah.
have now, pay later, and so the part of their money script is that they don't know when later comes.
Okay.
Everything becomes later. I'll take care of that later. I'll take care of that. I have to do this now, but I'll take care of that later. I have to buy this house now. I'll figure out how I'm going to pay for the furniture later. And sometimes I meet doctors, they have an empty house.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's a nice house. Where's the furniture? Oh, I'll
Sitting
get
at a
that later.
card table and a fold out chair. Yeah.
Yeah. And what that I'll take care of it later also starts to apply to is saving.
Yeah.
Roth IRA. I'll do that later. Maxing out the 401k. Oh, I'll do that later. And everything just becomes something they'll do later. And it just, if they don't fix it, they look up and they're 50 years old and they come sit down with me and I say, you're going to be doing this job forever because you've created a lifestyle that your income can't keep up with, and you're still carrying your student loan debt. And now you have kids that also want to go to college. You feel obligated to help them get through college, and then and all the list of other
Yeah.
things. So that's what I try to help them break through. But I'm usually able to see it if I can meet them as they're transitioning from residency to an attending physician. I can usually spot all of those money scripts pretty early on, just even in just the conversation. Or just looking at their I tell them I can get a thumbnail sketch of your finances in 5 minutes and have a pretty good idea of where you stand and how you make financial decisions.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Wealth on the Move, the podcast, brought to you by Hoffman Wealth Management. Here at Hoffman Wealth Management, we focus on working with busy families and active retirees, helping them navigate the complicated scenarios of their wealth while building the life that they desire. And we believe that every financial journey deserves direction. That is exactly what our proprietary process, the HWM navigation formula, provides. Just like a GPS, Our navigation formula begins with two key questions. Where are you now? What does your financial picture currently look like? And where do you want to go? What goals and dreams do you have? From there, we help you navigate every financial turn en route to your desired destination with clarity and confidence. It's more than a plan, it's a personalized path forward. If you want to learn more on how the navigation formula can work for you, reach out through the contact options in the show notes below. We would love to help you chart your next move. Now, back to this episode of Wealth on the Move, the podcast. So how do they respond when you're talking about highly intelligent folks that are maybe
Highly
learning this
intelligent.
about themselves for their first
Mhm.
time? I want to ask you a couple of questions about, access to financial literacy programs, but they haven't been taught this. None of us have been taught this.
Mm.
Whether you're going to be an emergency room doctor, a financial advisor, or a plumber, none of us have been taught this financial literacy at all. So plumbers go start making great money and in a huge in demand.
AI protected money too. So
Yeah,
I talk about
right.
plumbers. I'm like, y'all are good.
Plumbers, welders, that you want to
Yeah.
talk about somebody that's not looking over their shoulder at AI, right? That's it. And they're making good money, and they're just as lost as the rest of us. You and I have the benefit of being in this profession and understanding it, but they're just as lost because this stuff isn't covered. Why do you think this isn't being covered for, you know, Harvard Medical is not putting their folks through a financial literacy program before they go get their
Yeah,
residency?
man. Will, if we could solve this, man,
Yeah, no
you and
kidding,
I.
right?
Look, so it baffles me. There's a part of me that goes cynical. Now, the cynical
Okay.
answer is they don't tell us because they don't want us to know.
Right.
Because
I'm
if
with
we
you there too.
knew, we would tip the whole scales of the economic, engine
Yeah.
and how it runs. And yeah, and that's we could go there. But I really think, actually, not think. I know one of the reasons why it's not taught. And I'm not going to put this education system on blast, but it is
Okay.
a very prominent university in the United States of America. I went to them and said, "Hey, I want to help you build a financial literacy curriculum for your students. I happen to have some of your students as clients, and here's some of the things I discovered. We can build it. We'll build it together. As a matter of fact, I'll even co-teach it. I'll become an adjunct professor or whatever. And here, I'll help you do it." So for the better part of probably 4 or 5 years, I taught one course. It was about four classes per year with the same
Okay.
students. And I saw them matriculate all the way through. And it was a mixed class that had freshmen all the way to seniors. So I got to see some folks matriculate all the way through the program. And when I was moving, I said, here, I want to leave this for you. Let's keep it going. And one of the deans looked me in the eye and said, "I can't teach this. I don't even know how to do it myself."
But yeah.
And so it's one of these, it's become like this chicken egg thing.
Hmm.
At some point, we just have to start making or creating financial literacy professors in the high school level, in the college level. And if we can do that, then we can enter more of it into the system. But better than that, we got to rewrite how we teach math at an elementary level.
Yes.
Let's just teach math with money.
Yeah.
Problem solved. You get fractions,
Well,
you get
and
percentages, you get it all.
it's the rationale I always apply here is we went, we're working on 40 years now since the advent of the 401k. And we went from you didn't need to know this stuff. You
Mm,
needed to know when your pension and social security were going to match what you were
mhm.
taking home. And then you needed to tell your employer, that's it, I
When you were getting
retire.
your gold watch.
That's it. You had your pension, you had your inflation protection from social security, and that's all you had to do. Retire, do your crossword puzzles, collect your checks, and that's it. And we made this transition from that to Now you're responsible for funding your retirement, and the gap that was left was education. Here's a 401k, we're going to match it, but by the way, pick your own investments. By the way, suppress your own emotions when it comes to money and ignore those when it comes to market movements, and don't react. And good luck trying to tell somebody who has the finger on the button of their own 401k that they need to have a different set of emotions when it comes to their money. And we're going to do all this. So not only did we not teach the folks who were already out of school and working, and now they were pensions gone, 401ks here, figure it out. But then we forgot to teach everybody behind them.
Mhm.
And we get, I'm a big believer, we get our financial habits from our parents,
Yeah.
and we learn from watching. And that generation, they didn't have anybody to watch because those people didn't have to make those decisions. So there was this giant void of folks that needed to learn, maybe wanted to learn, but didn't have anybody to learn from. And my hope is that this is going to get washed out over, maybe another generation or two, where, my kids are watching me have to plan my own retirement. So they're learning from what I'm doing.
Mm.
And for their kids, it's going to be second nature that they have to do this. They have to learn these things. Hopefully, the school systems respond with better programs, because you're right. The folks that need to teach it don't know it
Don't know
because
it.
they didn't learn it. And, that's where hopefully they accept us into those programs to help teach it and are a bit more open minded. I think that they look at our profession and the checkered past of our profession when it comes to, you have movies like The Wolf of Wall Street um the original Wall Street that paint us as being villains.
Yeah, boiler
It's
room and
Boiler Room, right? They paint us as villains, so whenever we want to help, they're kind of like, let's keep Wall Street out of this. So that's just, I'm going to get off my soapbox now.
no, that's no, you're absolutely right. In to that, I just want to add that Will, I'm just as guilty. Um, again, thanks to my parents' money scripts, I
Mhm.
inherited that. But then all of a sudden in my early 20s, I'm making multiple six figures.
Yeah,
I didn't know how to handle that.
sure.
And I went through some life changes, had a child, got married, got divorced. I got to deal with child support and alimony. I was like, how am I paying alimony? I didn't know how the rules worked.
Yeah,
And then '08 came around, or '09 rather. But in '08, I settled my divorce and I made some financial decisions, again, behavioral finance, thinking that I can predict the future. And what I knew is that every year in March, I get a six-figure bonus. So I'm going to make these money moves in '08, settle my divorce, pay some things off, etc., sell some stock, and I'll pay the taxes in '09 when I get my bonus. There was no bonus in
there was no
'09.
bonus in '09, right?
And due to my poor behaviors, I ended up with a six-figure tax bill. And I also lost my job, meaning they eliminated a level of management in the company. And I went from making a couple $100,000 a year to 75,000 overnight. And it
Yeah,
was one of those things, well, you're lucky you still have a job. And I was like, yeah, but I'm not building a client base anymore. I gave all my clients away because I was on this leadership track. You're lucky you have a job. You're right.
yeah,
I am. So let me start over. But now here I am dealing with the IRS and this six-figure tax bill. And I didn't know how to navigate that either. I had to, I'd been using whatever tax pro the other person was using. Like, "Yeah, I'll just use your guide, sign the papers and move on." Didn't really understand how to manage my taxes properly, and didn't understand that I can't tell the future. That was when I learned that. I was like, oh wait, I have no idea what tomorrow holds. I really don't know. So, but that's the same trap I see clients get into.
yeah.
Same trap I see the doctors get into. I spoke to one the other day and I said, "Hey, did you ever, fix that payment plan?" "No, I got busy." "Okay, well, Fortunately, they're giving you more time.
Yeah.
Go do it. "Oh, well, I'll take care of it later." It's like, "Oh, okay, it's gonna cost you money. You eventually, you're gonna pay it.
Yes.
You're gonna have to pay this back. If you're not gonna go work for a public institution and get, student loan forgiveness, you're gonna have to pay it back. So, let's get started. Let's at least start chipping away at it, and let's stop thinking it's something that you can just take care of later. No, we get to do this right now."
Yes. Before we get into the book you helped write, I wanted to go back to the Behavioral Financial Advisor program and get some insight. It's a designation that I don't have. It's probably one I should try to obtain because I'm fascinated by the psychology of money and the behavior of what folks do. What are some of the things they cover in that program that you, while you're going through it, you had these, different aha moments of either client relationships or stories or your own money script that really was like that cold bucket of water that got dumped on you that said, "Jeez, I've been thinking about this all wrong."
And so it's actually the story I just shared about my ability to not tell the future.
Okay.
So in going through the behavioral financial advisor designation, the first part is really about self-reflection and
Okay.
getting in touch with the relationship that you have with money, the relationship you have with people, and the relationship you have with people and money, how those interact with family, friends, your clients, your business, etc. And you start working through the cognitive beliefs that you have and where they came from. So everything from, the dissonance that exists when when you have two competing thoughts that are inside your head, and both can be true sometimes, but understanding how to work through that, thinking through aversion bias and thinking through, what's that word? That's risk aversion or whatever it may be.
Right.
um, the herd mentality, just working through all of these different cognitive beliefs and cognitive biases and understanding which ones that are a part of you and that you haven't learned how to quite recognize and then work through. And it was actually during the BFA that I realized I was like, oh, I mean, because I had to deal with my tax issues slowly over time, working with the IRS, et cetera. But it wasn't until I was working on my BFA and I was trying to, I was like, well, how did I get in this situation? I know I'm in it, but what happened? And then I was able to, and just doing some reflection, some journaling, I was like, oh yeah, I did that, that, and that. And I was like, oh, I'll just take care of it with the bonus. And the bonus never came. And I started to notice other places in my life where I really thought that I was a fortune teller. And
Yeah.
I knew better than to do it with stocks. I would never say, oh, buy the stock and it's going to
Got it.
go up.
Right.
That never happened, but I would do it in other areas, of the silliest thing. This has happened to me before. I'm human. I can run on E for 50 miles. It's not going to run out of gas. Till one time it runs out of
Bang.
gas. And I
Run
was
out of
like,
gas.
wait,
Right.
has it been 50 miles? Wait, what's different today? What is it really? Is it 50 miles? Where did I get 50 miles? I made all that up.
Right.
Just because one day the light came on and I went another 50 miles, like, oh, I can go 50 miles with the light on. So that's really what the BFA begins to do is help you start to break through those things that are happening physio let me say the word physiologically. I can't say the word today. Physiologically in your head.
There you go.
The way that your brain, the chemicals are going throughout your body to make you do something. As the word goes, emotion, which is just energy and motion. So emotion, when you have that emotion, it's usually there's a catalyst that's caused you to have the emotion. Something has happened to you. And then you have this feeling. And then you start to think and then you start to act. Well, what's the proper order for those to be in? A lot of times something happens to us and we react and we skip over the thinking and the feeling, or we
Okay.
skip over just pausing for a moment and say, okay, wait a minute. Do I even need to act? Let me just pause. Let me think about my values. Let me think about what's important to me. Let me think about how I've had these situations in the past. And again, to determine, do I need to act, or do I just need to just let whatever's
Yeah.
happening and then maybe do something later? And so understanding, going through the values exercise of understanding what my values are, which I found that I do a values exercise. The wife and I, we sit down and do values exercise every year. And I found that values can evolve over time. They don't really change, but they will evolve.
Okay.
For instance, you can value money or you can value wealth. Well, when I first did the values exercise, I was like, oh, I'm a wealth advisor. I'm all about valuing wealth. And then I realized over the years, I was like, wait, I'm not wealthy yet. Right now, I value money,
Okay.
having it, investing it, being able to control it, and move it around.
Tool.
Eventually,
Right.
I'll get to the time where I can value wealth because I'll have it.
Okay.
And I know that I'll be wealthy because I won't need money anymore.
Gotcha.
Okay.
You said a mouthful there.
So, um, so that's what the behavioral financial advice is, or behavioral financial advisory program is all about. And when I started changing those conversations with my clients and leading with a values first, let me help you work through your biases that you already have. Let's point it out. Let's point out where you are just flying in the face of all logic and reason because of your emotional response to what's happening. It's just like the way I was talking clients out of buying SpaceX, which was fun. And I let some buy it. I was like, hey, if you want to do this, this is fine. But I got a client that works for SpaceX.
Better be calling you a genius now, though.
Works for SpaceX. Hey, they're giving us opportunity to buy more. I was like, now why would they do that? They're limiting what everyone else can buy on the street, but they're going to let you go in and buy some. Why? You already became a millionaire on it. What how much is enough, buddy?
Yeah.
And then I get the call last week. How'd you know? I didn't.
Didn't. Right.
I did not know. What I knew is that you had enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was worth a million. Yes. And
You
in
were.
actuality, you never really were, but that's a story for another day.
Yeah.
Um,
So
yeah.
we're going to be together in a couple weeks in California with our friends at the AGC. Um, get to play one of my favorite. I mean, it's my favorite week of the year professionally, without question.
Mm.
We get to be together at one of the most beautiful golf courses on the planet and see the guy from. It was so funny. My wife and I were watching a YouTube video last night of 1980s commercials, and the commercial for Hot Pockets came
Hot
on, and I said,
pockets,
you
hot
know,
pockets. I
that
knew
guy
it.
stole Kobe's view in Newport Beach. So he put bad meat, bad cheese, and bad bread, put it in a freezer, and made billions, billions. But we're all going to be together with our friends from the AGC, and you work with the AGC to help write a book. Can you tell me a little bit about that book? We've had uh, Taylor on to talk about the first issue of the book, More Than Money, and the second edition has come out with some of your input called Even More Than Monies. Talk a little bit about that book and the process, what you contributed, and how that process went.
Yeah. So first, tremendous gratitude to the AGC
Yes.
and them inviting me to be a part of this process. So this was my first attempt at writing anything other than a blog and a newsletter for my clients,
Okay.
and of course papers for college. And it was a humbling process. And I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about what my writing style truly is. And I also learned more about what I really like to write about. And so, Even More Than Money is a collection of stories from advisors, and they're sharing either their own personal stories as related to money or sharing stories from clients. And I shared a story from a client. The title of my section is When It Rains, It Pours.
Okay.
And I speak a lot about what we've talked about today. It's a story about a client who couldn't tell the future, and neither could I. So, because we didn't know the future, we made some plans. And those plans turned out to be what saved her from financial ruin because we didn't know what was going to happen. And it's aptly called When It Rains, It Pours because it was a hurricane that demolished her plan. And
Jeez.
yeah, yeah. So again, it was a very humbling experience. I'm very excited to be a part of it. And I think what I hope that it does is that it helps not only individuals think about their relationship to money and what are they using money for? Is it for changing? Is it for giving? Is it for the next generation? What is money for? So what is your relationship with money? But I also hope that above all that advisors read the book, because I've learned over the years that as an advisor, you can connect with clients better if you know how to share a story that they can relate to.
Hmm.
And that's what I found with ER docs. When I start with them, I give a brief story and I tell the same story about the same doctor. And she says, tell them my story, please. She's written testimonials about it already. And so I share her story, the same one I shared with you about her retail therapy.
Yeah,
And, today she's a multimillionaire. She's comfortable. She can stop working if she wants to, but she doesn't. She works because she enjoys what she does, and she's changed her relationship with the hospital so it better suits her. And yeah, it is a happy ending.
great.
But sharing that story helps me to relate to that doctor that's sitting across from me to say, I have an idea of what you might be going through. Let me tell you someone else that's been through something similar and how I helped them through it. And so I think that if advisors can connect to those stories, or if you want to borrow my story or borrow somebody else's story, you can say, hey, my friend who's an advisor, this is what they went through, and this is why we do things the way that we do. And I really think that clients can relate to that. Prospects can relate to that enough to
Yeah,
become
sure.
clients. So the book is out anywhere you want to get books, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I'm sure, Will, you'll put a link to it.
Yeah, we'll
I'll
put a
send it
link
over
in
to
our
you so
show
you have it.
notes and everywhere we publish this. I got some time on a plane between, like I said, when we started. I'm taking the boys to Disney World tomorrow, so got some time on a plane to read it, and it's a long flight from Pittsburgh to Southern California, so we're gonna have some time.
Oh, then you said it wrong. You're not going to Disney World. You're going to
No,
Disneyland.
no, no. Jamie and I are taking the boys to Disney World this week, and then in a few weeks
Okay.
when we're together, I have to fly.
Oh, you're talking about that flight to Southern California. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that
a long
flight to
flight.
Southern
Yeah, okay,
California.
okay.
We got a couple layovers, a couple flights, so I have some time to digest the book
Yeah,
between
yeah,
now
no,
and then.
it's a
We were
fun
to.
read. There's some good stories in there. There's a couple tear jerkers in there. I'm telling you that right
I'm
now.
sure there weren't the first one too, and we
Uh,
were just at a local business association meeting today, and somebody was talking about, I like to listen to books through Audible,
mhm.
folks, but the cognitive abilities we gain by physically reading the hard copy of the book. And they were talking about that in our meeting today, and how
Yeah,
helpful it is to actually read.
I don't like the self-help professional books Audible. I don't.
Okay,
I'll do the fiction stuff Audible all day
sure.
long because in my mind it's almost like I'm watching a movie.
Okay.
Um, so like
See,
the
I
Gray
listen when
Man
I run,
novels
so
and all that
I'm in the
stuff.
middle of training for the New York City Marathon again right now. So I will listen to Audible books or podcasts or things when I run, and that's my way to kill two birds with one stone. I'm getting my body and mind in shape at the same time.
Have you ever read The Ascent of Money by Neil Ferguson or listened to it? Okay. So it is fascinating. It's long, so it's a great Audible book. You get lots of time, lots of run time on that one. Uh, but
A scent of
he's
money.
The Ascent of Money, ASCENT of Money. So he is and he's British, so it's fun to listen to. But he tells kind of the story of money through history. It is
Okay.
fascinating. I think
Yeah,
you'll
I'm
love
gonna
it.
get on that. That sounds great. We'll put the link to the even more than money book in our show notes. I want to ask you one more question before we wind up. For somebody who is listening, who is unhappy with their current relationship with money, unhappy with maybe their past money script, if they wanted to rewrite one line of their money script after listening to this episode, where should they start?
I would start with doing a values exercise,
Okay.
and happy to give
I
you a
love
link to
that.
that as well, so you can
Yeah,
put in the show
I
notes.
love that.
So in the values exercise, you'll go through and you'll identify your top 5 values. So there'll be a bunch of words on the screen, and you're just trying to narrow down to, do you value religion? Do you value relationships, family, et cetera? And you're going to narrow down to your top 5. And I encourage you to, once you have that top 5, there's 2 things I'm encouraging you to do. One is a challenge. I challenge you to take your top 5 values, put them on your bathroom mirror on a Post-it note. And as you're spending time in the mirror in the morning, brushing your teeth, because most people brush their teeth in front of a sink, which is also in front of a mirror. If the Post-it note is there, as you're brushing your teeth, either out loud or to yourself, recite your values. And then challenge yourself to make decisions that are in alignment with your values throughout the day. If you can recite those values to yourself, you can do that every day for 30 days, I promise you, you'll start to show up in your finances because you're going to be faced with a financial decision, and those values are going to come up from your subconscious and say, wait a minute, I value whatever. How does this relate? And then the second one, as a part of that, use whatever app you use to track all of your financial expenditures, whether it's your bank account or Monarch Money or eMoney, wherever you can go and you can see all the money that you spent. Take that values Post-it note and start taking it line by line over all of your expenses over the last 30 days and see if those expenses are in alignment with those values.
Right.
And
show me your budget. I'll show you your values. That's you say that all the time.
And if that doesn't get you thinking a little bit different about your relationship with money and how you treat it and how you feel it treats you, let me know, because I'd like to know that didn't work.
Yeah, because I can't imagine it wouldn't. You would. It's amazing how the psychology of money fascinates me. By the way, Morgan Housel, if you're listening, please respond to our emails to jump on the Wealth on the Move podcast.
Say respond to mine too, Morgan. Actually, I'm not gonna lie. Morgan told me no to my face.
Oh,
but he said he was just kind of overbooked and busy at the time.
I'm sure he is. Yeah,
he told me to keep asking, and this was right before his the second book, how to spend. What is it? Not how to spend money.
Psychology of spending, right?
So psychology of spending.
Right?
That's what it is. Psychology of spending. Yeah. This was right before I think he announced it the next week, and I was like, okay, fine. You were a little busy. So
yeah, that's a. Hopefully he'll be at Future Proof. I'm sure they'll have a long line of folks there with pitch decks waiting to get them on or get him on their podcast. But that's why you got to get there early and hopefully catch those when the crowds are small. But yeah, I'm excited to see you. If folks wanted to follow you, how do they follow you? Where how do they connect with you? What's your preferred method of getting folks to follow you?
So unless you're trying to sell me a lead program, which I don't need, you can find me on LinkedIn.
Oh, come on, man. Those things work so well.
But I just don't need them. I'm sure they do. I just don't need them. I'm good.
If you're not watching on YouTube, you couldn't see my eyes roll. So,
so yeah, LinkedIn, just Yohance Harrison, however you want to say it, doesn't hurt me there. But find me on LinkedIn at Yohance Harrison. I'm on what do they call it? X now. I'm on X and Instagram. I don't do the TikTok and other ones, but that's just at the Money Script. You can find me there. And then, of course, it's like Will said, catch me at Future Proof. We have a very interesting musical guest this year, I hear.
Yes.
This is going to be fun. So you'll probably see me there.
Pittsburgh's own Wiz Khalifa.
You'll see me there.
Black and yellow T-shirts ready to roll with our logo on them. Terrible towels will be in hand. We're fired up.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm going to be there with my camera. I'll be there taking photos of that.
Good, because I'm hopefully going to be on stage with Wiz, so you can catch my photo.
By the way, Wiz, I don't know if you saw, he's a runner now too.
Yes.
So he's gone from lifting to running long distance. So I don't know, maybe we can get him out on a run or something.
You know what? We have a charity group that we put together every year for the Pittsburgh Marathon. Wiz, if you're listening, we are dying to have a celebrity join us for the Pittsburgh Marathon, your hometown marathon. You got to join us.
That's a no-brainer. Wiz's team, if you're listening, this is a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer. Come on. Hometown hero.
Because, we're definitely excited to see him in Southern California. Excited for the weather in Southern California, excited for the golf in Southern California.
Excited for golf. So y'all, if you're an advisor or you're in the business, by the way, get your ticket. There's still tickets available. They're still offering the reimbursement.
They're not sold out yet.
The reimbursement ticket is still available. A reimbursement ticket means that if you sit for hosted meetings, like you have to do 8 of them or something like that, hosted meetings. And a hosted meeting is speed dating with someone that you may be able to do business with, may not. I've made friends from speed
Made
dating. It's
friends,
great.
learned a lot. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
there's worse ways to spend 2 hours for sure.
Yeah. And they and that will get you $750 reimbursement credit and a free ticket. So to the event. So it's kind of a no-brainer, guys. I mean, this is probably one of the best. I won't say one of. It is the best event
Without question. Yes,
for financial services out there.
without
And
question.
then, like Will said, if there's any college students listening and you would like to be an intern, we have a spot open. And hey,
Awesome.
you might get to come to Future Proof. So
We're
hit me
taking our
up.
spring intern. He's excited. Yeah, it's going to be a fun time, and it's starting to become the focal point of our year. We center our planning around it so our whole team can go, because we all learn something. We're all out there with a different mission, and we all learn something. We enjoy being together and being with all of our colleagues that are there to learn something. And my friend Drew Boyer said it best. It's hard to go to another conference where it's 72 degrees with 100% chance of fluorescent lighting. And when you get to be outside on the beach and the breeze is blowing, it's such a fun, much better way to spend a conference than 72 degrees and air conditioning and 100%
72
chance of,
degrees and 100% chance of fluorescent light.
yeah.
That is,
Drew nailed it when he said that.
I'm using that one. That's
Yep.
wow. Yeah, I got to go to the FPA conference next week where it's going to be 72 degrees and 100% chance of fluorescent lighting.
Well, travel
Shout out to
safe.
FPA. I'm happy to be there.
Right, but you'd rather be on a beach. Well, travel safe. We look forward to seeing you in a few weeks and teeing it up at Pelican Hill. And thank you so much for doing this. Hopefully,
Thank you.
everybody learns something from it, learns something about their money script. If you want to follow me, I'm very active on LinkedIn. You can always follow us here on our YouTube channel or follow the podcast, Wealth on the Move. We're back in the swing of things and back to publishing episodes. And if you are within those 5 years of retirement, want to check out our other podcast, Pre-Retirement Navigated, please feel free to check that out. But Yohance, thank you again. Thanks for joining us. I look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks. And remember to always keep your wealth moving. Thanks for joining us.
Yohance Harrison and MoneyScript Wealth Management are not affiliated with Hoffman Wealth Management or Private Advisor Group.
Will Hoffman offers investment advice through Private Advisor Group, which is a federally registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult with the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision.